Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Omni Talk Fast Five, sponsored by Takeoff and the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The Omni Talk Fast Five is the podcast that is the fastest, funniest, and most fervent rundown of all the week's top headlines in the world of retail. Today is March 18th, 2021. I am your host, Chris Walton, joined as always by the effervescent Ann Mazinga and the woman whose acronym is ETI, Emma the Intern. What's happening today?
That was like a straight up Letterkenny intro. Like at the beginning of, do you watch that show yet?
I haven't yet. I've seen some clips on Facebook scrolling through my feed. It's pretty good.
It's not for everybody, but at the beginning of each season, they do an A through Z analysis, and they keep using all the alliteration that you just so wonderfully put through. Except
you noticed the alliteration. That was intentional.
ETI.
The fastest, funniest, and my favorite, most fervent rundown of all the week's top headlines. And why does Canada always slip in? Like, I don't know what it is. Like, why is Canada always slipping into everything that we're doing? Emma, what about you? What's going on? What do you got to bring to the table today? Are you guys pumped? Like, are you pumped about these headlines? Where are you on a scale of like 1 to 10? There was like so much to cover this week. Like, we didn't even get into some things like Lord & Taylor, Express. Like, where are you guys this week? Emma, like scale of 1 to 10.
I'd say like 7.
Yeah,
I really
7.
I really like my headline. The other ones I'm kind of like, okay. But
and you're like, yeah, all right, yeah, just let them do their thing. Okay, I get it. What about you, Anne?
I mean, I feel like things really picked up this week. I don't know that I'd say that there's a lot of like really incredible headlines, but I would say that the pace of all of the headlines coming out this in the last 7 days has been fervent.
Fervent, yes, good use of that word again too. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, there were a ton of stuff. I don't know that this week's headlines were fun, but that's what we do, so we're gonna make them fun. But they definitely were big and cool, and they were hard. It was definitely hard to pick. Like the Express. What do you guys think of that whole Express story? We're just gonna make smaller stores. Like, that didn't even make our cut. Like, what's your give the quick hot take on that, Anne?
Oh man, not the solution. I don't think that's gonna solve anything. Next thing you know, they're gonna just close all the stores and pull Lord & Taylor and be like, now we're online only. Do you like it any better?
That was the other one. Lord & Taylor now is an online department store. Yeah, because we need another one of those, right? Emma, like, was that your hot take on that one too?
Oh yeah, I read that and I was like, oh, of course. Like,
yeah, there was even a cool story from Unilever in Europe where they're using like computer vision technology in the gig economy to have brands go in and make sure everything is set up in the right places in stores and be able to monitor that like 24/7. Like, that didn't even make our list, Omni Talk fans. And that is a cool story too. That's on the blog. You can check it out. But let's get started, because God knows where this is going to go. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to talk a little curbside sampling, which is also fun to say. Adidas's latest plans, which is also really hard to say, or if you are in Europe, Adidas's latest plans. Walmart going into high-end fashion. We're going to close with Amazon rolling out its new telehealth services nationwide. That is huge, with a capital H-U-G-E. But first, we're going to start with a different Amazon story, and that is that Walmart, Jesus, Chris, Amazon now has 28 more fresh stores in the works. That is according to Bloomberg. They say that from Philadelphia to Sacramento, we're going to have Amazon fresh stores. The spokesperson confirmed for Bloomberg that you're going to have stores in New Jersey, Seattle, Bellevue, Washington, all across the freaking country. And the other key part of this story from Bloomberg that I don't feel like enough people have been talking about, rumors are that Amazon is testing its Go technology now for the first time in one of its Amazon Fresh stores in Naperville, Illinois, which is, by the way, for everyone that follows us closely, a full-scale grocery store. And you're already shaking your head about how excited you are about this story. So what's your take?
When we first were texting each other about this Bloomberg article, I mean, I don't even remember exactly what I wrote, but I was like, game on. This is just going to accelerate so quickly. And they haven't even named, like, there's 28 that they're naming. We know there's even some in Minneapolis that we've talked about in that area that haven't even been officially announced.
Right.
And now that they're testing, we don't know the extent of which they're testing. It's not customer facing in the Naperville store, but now that they're testing in a full format grocery store, this Go and Just Walk Out technology, I think it's going to again accelerate the pace of cashierless checkout. outside of Amazon too. I think we're going to start to see significant increases in all the other companies that are in this space, and really interest from other grocers and from other vendors who are supplying this technology to just keep pushing it even further. And I believe see, cashierless checkout experiences in the next, maybe 2 to 3 years, not 3 to 5 years like we maybe thought before.
Well, let's talk about that timeline, because I do remember that text. I think that text started actually with, Chris, you're such an amazing partner. I'm so glad I get to go to work with you every day. Obviously. And then it was like, how fast do you think this is coming, and how quickly will the grocers come on board, right? That's where it went next.
Have never been my thing,
Chris. Is my memory working right on that? But yeah, I think exactly. You're right. Let's do the timeline though. Like 2018, what do you have? That's when the first Amazon Go store opens, 3,000 square feet. 2020, Go Grocery opens, right? In Seattle, I think that was roughly 10,000 square feet. So so you got a 3X bump there in the size of the store. So you start talking 2022, is it conceivable to go from 10 to 30,000 square feet and be able to get a pretty decent sized grocery store? Maybe, just maybe it is, or at least they're doing it and no one else the hell is. The only people that we know that have been rumored of even trying something at this scale is, the Trigo and Tesco relationship, which we're still, waiting to hear more about as well. Oh, and then got intel too, that they're opening up stores. We talked about it last week or the week before in London. It sounds like they're opening up another one near Wembley Stadium. Now, these are smaller fresh stores, but the European market is different. Like, God knows where this is going to go, but I think the grocers have to wake up to this. Emma, final word here.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I feel like
it's all over this.
Of course, especially the Just Walk Out stuff. Like, I think I'm just excited for when it actually comes into practice.
Your next Minneapolis apartment is going to be in like Egan or wherever the hell this is, like right across the street.
It might be.
The next time you move. Yeah.
It might be.
That's how bullish you are on this. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right, Ann, what's the story number 2?
All right. So CPG brands like General Mills and Cure Hydration have started to pivot sampling efforts during this pandemic. So as we all know, not a lot of traffic for the last year in store. They had to cut sampling programs because of concerns over sanitary practices within the store. But according to a report by CNBC, General Mills and these others have partnered with retailers like Walmart to start adding samples to curbside pickup orders or creating these swag bags that they hand out at events. Now, the retailers love this, obviously, because they can add this extra delight and surprise moment to customers who either come, to the store for curbside pickup, or as a way to further engage them when they're fulfilling other like e-commerce delivery orders. Now, Walmart is testing this also with some welcome boxes as part of a perk when you sign up for the subscription service Walmart Plus. What are you guys thinking? I mean, I think this is fun. I love this.
You go first. What do you think here?
So I sometimes do like a Cub Foods pickup through Instacart, and every once in a while they give me a bag that has like a sparkling ice, an apple, and a granola bar, and it's awesome.
So
and
it's surprising, I was actually delightful.
I was actually like reminded of this brand of granola bars that I really like. I just never buy. And I was like, I think I'm going to buy that the next time. So when I read this headline, I was like, totally, this is so much fun. And like, it just gets people exposed to different products that they normally aren't, maybe.
Ooh, what brand, may I ask?
Lara Bar.
Wow, right. Okay, cool. Look at you. Like you got surprised and delighted by the unexpected Lara Bar. That's cool. I think this is sweet. I think one of the things I don't think is being talked about enough, there's a couple of angles of this story. I think one is we talk about store of the future, which is a term that people know us well, like I don't like very much. But the thing for me is like, what's the parking lot design of the future? And you've talked about that a lot. Like, what does that really start to look like? And how do you start to think about this and many other things in terms of the design of that consumer experience? We talked about the robots. Remember, what was that robot called? Smiley the robot, like going around, like, concessions, that type of thing. But the other thing I love about this, and I was talking about this on, I think I mentioned this in the show before too, talking about this at the NCA panel, the National Confectioners Association meeting that I did a few weeks ago. Where, they're selling things that are, essentially, purchased at the end of, the checkout experience, and that's changing now. And so how do you think about all the different pay points, whether it's digitally in cart or out in the parking lot at a curbside pickup? And what I love about this, which is so different than anything you do with traditional sampling. You do traditional sampling, you don't know who's in your store, trying the what are the summer sausage or whatever it is that's, sitting out there all warmed up. You don't know who that is, but now you have somebody pulling in, exactly who's pulling in and what's in their cart. So you can actually and this comes from, I didn't even come up with this myself. Meredith Glansberg on LinkedIn brought this up. I thought it was a huge point. You actually know the cart before they come. So you could decide the sampling based on that data. That is incredible when you think about it. And then the behavior afterwards, potentially of that customer, and you can retarget them as well, given all of that. I think it's fascinating.
And it costs them so much less. I started to dig into
really
just the whole sampling. Well, I got down a real dark
Reddit. You probably don't have to pay a person to go.
You don't have to pay. It costs about 50 cents per sample when you're doing it in a store. So if you have to hire the person, you have to rent space from the retailer, and then you have to provide all the samples. Now, if in this case, they're saying that not only are you able to target people more specifically, but you are also able to bring those costs down per sample to 10 to 30 cents a piece. And it's for somebody that's very specific. I think you bring up a great point too, Chris. I mean, I was joking with somebody about, what happens to this when we go beyond just, handing out samples, when you start to have the Walmart curbside pickup that's sponsored by, Procter and Gamble and stuff. And all these things. I mean, it happens in your OB-GYN office. You've got Stirrups sponsored by Mirena. Why aren't we seeing curbside checkout lanes?
Is that real? Is that a real thing?
Yes.
No way. Oh my God.
See,
this is what
crazy.
We bring you on Omni Talk. Things that you had no idea. Wow.
Well, I think every woman on the show probably has a very good idea about that, but maybe the male
50% of the population probably did not know that there's a sponsorship opportunity in that situation. So
Stirrup covers.
It's amazing. That's amazing. No,
I don't know what the return on investment is on that, so I can't give you any stats there, but I'm just saying this opens up a world of opportunity for, I was talking with somebody on LinkedIn, stadiums do this. They're why aren't retailers getting more revenue from some things like this where, I think lots of CPG companies are willing to experiment, and they're going to have to try different ways to approach the customer. So I think it makes sense, and I'm really excited to keep following this.
You're right. And that point about efficiency is really good too. I hadn't thought about that, but even on the inventory side, I can remember managing this in my frozen food days. It was a pain in the ass from an inventory perspective too, because they'd end up taking all the stuff off the shelf for their live sampling. But here you can actually keep that pool of inventory a lot different and a lot more, a lot separate too. But wow, my mind was just blown. I think we have to keep pushing forward on this as well. So Emma, let's do story number 3.
All right. So Adidas is aiming for direct to consumer to make up 50% of sales by 2025 as e-commerce has been booming. And this is a 4-year plan that they are calling Own the Game. And so some kind of tactics they're going to implement are that they're paring down on their wholesale partners to focus on more strategic partnerships. They're planning on maintaining larger concept stores, but fewer of them. They want to own the soccer, outdoor lifestyle training, and running categories. And they're going to focus on athleisure and revamping their women's categories. So I really like this. I think this is what you have to do if you're going to keep up with Nike. The only thing I don't love is the larger concept stores, but fewer of them. I think that Nike does have that advantage of being able to buy online, pick up in store, return your shoes directly to a store and whatnot. But I'm excited for this. I'm really excited for them to go harder on their women's just everything. And I think there's a lot of potential.
And Emma, to your point about to your point about the stores, I actually kind of like this, where it's you know what, if you're going to come to our store, it's a beacon of the brand. So it's almost more flagship-ish. Whereas the other types of things that you're hearing about all these small stores seem so much more transactional, get the job done. And there's a lot of ways in this new retail world to think about how to do that. You can have partners with returns to make that easy as long as it's coordinated and fluid. So it almost makes me start to wonder if this is, and Adidas is a very smart, I think has been a very smart brand over the years to figure out how to do things effectively. So I actually kind of like that, where everyone else is kind of going into how do we just have more small stores and all that? And then you get into all kinds of cannibalization things versus now it's let's pull back, just do what we know we need to do really well and figure out the smart ways to connect with other people, which is a good segue too, because Ann, you were pretty pumped about, you couldn't stop talking about this actually.
Right. Well, I think that the big thing that is kind of now starting to trickle out, because they've actually announced a formal partnership, is between Peloton and Adidas as part of this relationship. So now on March 25th, I think the full line of clothing, the first time, will be released so that people can start seeing what that full collection looks like. And I think that gets back into also what the stores serve the purpose of. Like when you start to think about bringing in this Peloton community and bringing Adidas in together, and what the focal point of those stores could be. I think that's something that we're not talking about right now, but I think has a lot of potential down the road too, to kind of bring these communities together. You know, we're going to see Lululemon and Mirror trying to experiment with some of these things as people are coming back to store. And I feel like this is a win on both sides, for sure, for Adidas to start to, again, get that middle segment of the market, not the hardcore sports enthusiasts, not the high fashion enthusiasts, but really try to get that group in the middle. And Peloton, what an amazing way to do that. It's a perfect marriage, in my opinion.
Are you starting to warm up to my whole position as like Peloton a really like powerful retail here going forward? Emma, same question to you here too, but let's start with Ann. Like,
I'm not saying that you don't have a point, and I don't think that together now with Adidas that Peloton has some better chance at becoming a mass retailer. But I can't.
Heck of a lot of apparel.
I still think it's going to be a segment.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Emma, what do you think?
Give you the final word here as the resident Gen Zer.
I mean,
Emma, the intern.
I get the Peloton craze. I don't think I'll ever join. Mostly my biggest roadblock is that sitting in a bike position to get exercise is literally the last thing that I would want to do. I would rather do burpees for an hour than sit on a bike. So
because you're not 40 yet. But yeah.
I mean,
I handle the high impact.
I did the trial of Apple Fitness. I didn't like that. And then I'm still pretty I have a trainer on YouTube for completely free that I really like. And I'm still kind of on the YouTube train.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I can't wait to see. I mean, they've got the Adidas partnership. They've got this closed loop. The influencers, the trainers, so to speak, are already wearing this stuff. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what they start selling out of this vehicle. So, all right. On that note of fashion.
All right. We'll continue on this thread with the announcement that Brandon Maxwell, the well-lauded designer, will be joining Walmart and will launch his first of 4 yearly collections in spring of 2022. Maxwell has also allegedly been able to influence the holiday offerings behind the scenes that are about to come out. He will continue, as I mentioned, each year designing 4 seasonal collections for the trend-driven line Scoop and an essentials-oriented line Free Assembly. Guys, this has been all over the news this week. I mean, everyone and anyone has an opinion on this. What do you guys think?
Oh, Anne, I know you'd like our opinion, but we're going to actually ask you for yours because, believe it or not, and you don't know this is the put you on the spot question from Ann M. And I love this story. I didn't even know that part about I influenced the holiday collection. Baloney. No way. You would have had to, I don't buy that for a second. But anyway, here's the put you on the spot question. We'll get back to that later. All right. They think it makes sense. On the surface, this makes sense, right? You've got a high-end luxury designer. He's, Brandon Maxwell. He's clearly a talented dude. But the question is, does the Walmart customer care about the high-end aesthetic for private labels from Walmart? And what do you think?
I've been going back and forth on this a lot. I'm still not 100% decided on what I think about this. But here's what I do.
Oh, come on. No waffling.
Here's what I think. Brandon is surely talented. I think they're going to have to be very specific about how they approach this. This cannot come in as Kathy Ireland for Walmart or whatever. Okay. It's got to be bringing his high fashion eye and doing this design for the masses that Target's done so well, that Amazon is doing incredibly well. And I think there's nothing wrong with elevating the essentials product lines at Walmart. I think it makes a lot of sense as you're thinking about the next generation of shopper at the store and how Walmart really becomes more of this one-stop shop. I think that if they can continue that trend and they can really just bring, more newness, more freshness, not just what's the cheapest product we can make and how easy can we, print out billions of these t-shirts, but you start to add some unique design twists to some of the Walmart product. And I think that's great. That's a great thing to be able to offer the Walmart customer. And I think it's smart for Walmart to experiment in this way.
Do you think TikTok plays into this too? Like, do you think that's a portion of this? Like that's maybe some unexplored territory here? You do? How come?
I do. I think that, Walmart saw an increase in their TikTok followers and apparently had success according to them with their TikTok event that they did, the beauty event last week. But I think that it's about the new audience. And that's what I think people who are commenting on this and saying it's a failure and this is not going to save them. Doesn't pay off the save money, live better promise that Walmart should stick to and the rollback deals. Like you are looking at right now, Walmart customers. And this is, I hope, an opportunity to really go after that next audience who they need to be focused on right now. So I think don't knock this until we see the first collections come out next year.
Okay. Emma, you even though you're younger, you tend to be, one of the more, I'd say, critical of the three of us on some of these things. What do you think here?
I would say, I think the focus, I think that these are really great moves for trying to capture like my generation of people, because we're not really that tied to Walmart. And like, it's always, Walmart is doing a good job, I think, of trying to like shape the mindset and acquire this generation of people. However, even though focusing on the future is really important, I do kind of think like the majority of your sales for probably another like decade or two are still not going to be people who care about this at all. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. I feel like they're like experimenting in a good way, but also, is it really necessary? I don't know.
So you're both kind of mixed. You know, the legacy of Walmart. Like that's kind of my take here, Anne. Like you maybe, but you're not sure. Like you could possibly see it come together, but the stars would have to align here. That's where your heads are.
Yeah, I don't hate the strategy. Putting somebody who's a content creator and a fashion designer in charge of what your next generation of revamping the essentials that you're putting out, not a bad concept. Now, how it's executed will be a very different thing.
Yeah. Okay. This one's hard for me. Like, I think this is a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Like, and I do want to call out that one statement you said too, which is that he influenced it. Just for everyone that understands how retail works, I mean, he probably like walked through the headquarters and saw the line and made a comment on it, and then the PR team potentially is running with that. That's how much I'm my hunch in terms of like how he influenced this. But yeah, he's got some stuff coming. I just don't know. Like you have to remember, like Walmart's store count is like, what is it? Isn't it like 4,673 stores, if I remember the number right?
Yeah,
like
about 4,700.
It's just massive, massive amounts of units. And so when you start talking about high-end fashion and putting it in that type of scale, like let's just talk store side first. Like that becomes really problematic and really hard to do. And you also get to the point, and Gap saw this problem too. I can remember when I was working there, like everyone starts wearing the crinkle cami and suddenly like that's not fashionable anymore because like everyone has the same thing. So like for Walmart to take that position, it's just hard to do. Then you could say, okay, can you do it online? Can you do it digitally through TikTok with smaller runs and things like that? Yeah, you can, but like you're at an uphill battle to like get the cachet for all of that anyway. And then from an economics perspective, I'm not really sure it's going to move the needle because it's all going to be small batches against a pretty significant sized base. And Anne, I know you disagree and we'll go here, but like, I don't see this. Plus they've tried, if you look back at the history, they've tried these types of things before, and economics are economics. So I'm just not sure. If I was to answer this on the spot question, I don't think there's going to be anything out of this. This is just, I think it's more of a PR soundbite.
But that's the very important clarification here. This is if they go design partnership mode where they are having a high fashion collection by Brandon Maxwell for Walmart, not going to work. But if he starts to influence and creates a better styled, a more competitive product to something that you can get at Amazon and at Target, I think it could work. It's just
Yeah.
going to have to be executed that way.
Okay. Yeah,
and
but
that's the
not,
difference.
in reality, that's not going to happen because like his whole, but that's not going to happen because his whole brand and his whole cachet is about, something else. It's not about getting into the weeds and working day in and day out at a Walmart to that degree. Like you see this all the time. Like Beyonce's the creative director or Rihanna's the creative director. Like, yeah, maybe, but like how involved are they day to day? Are they just leveraging the name in terms of how that stuff pulls off? So like what you're saying is going to happen, like you have to be willing to stick to that for the really, really long term. And we've never seen instances where people are doing that for
But
a
we
great
also
period of
haven't
time.
seen them hired by these people. That's the other part. This is not a collaboration with Brandon Maxwell. This is a hire on Walmart's team, leading a P&D department.
Fair enough.
I think
Fair
there's
enough.
more
If
to
that's
it.
really how they're going to operate it, then that is groundbreaking. Your point, that is groundbreaking. If he's really sitting there in Bentonville, and even though he's living in Austin, if I remember reading correctly, if he's sitting in Bentonville every day and he's looking at all the designs and he's working with the buyers in terms of how many units to place and what the strategy is to drive all this, maybe. I don't know if I'm buying.
Let's bet. We'll bet on it.
Yeah,
let's see. 2022, Chris Walton. You're buying me lots of beer. You're gonna
if
buy
I'm
me
wrong
lots
on this,
of
like I said with everything, if I'm wrong on it, I'll be the first one to say so. But this one, I just can't get into. All right, last story. This is cool. Amazon is expanding its telehealth services nationwide. So according to the great Dan Berthium, who, if you're not following him on Chain Store Age, quite frankly, I think he's the best retail reporter in the business. This guy breaks everything, and he breaks stuff that's actually cool. And so if you can, check him out. I think it's good stuff.
And he loves the Black Crows.
And he loves the Black Crows, and he loves Omni Talk. So if you love Omni Talk,
Yes.
I automatically love you too. Shout out, Dan. Hope you're listening. All right. Anyway, they've expanded their telehealth service. It's called Amazon Care. If you remember, it opened, I think we talked about it on our show. It opened in a pilot phase in Washington in 2019. And now they're saying by the summer, it's going to go everywhere else. As a part of this, they're also going to expand the in-person portion of the program, in-person care portion of the program, where basically, right now, the way it works is like you can get, if you're an Amazon employee, or now they're actually expanded to companies, you can basically set up a video conference call with your doctor. They say in less than 60 seconds, which is crazy. And then if you need it as part of the in-person care portion, you can actually have somebody come out, draw your blood, do different types of checkouts right to your house. It's kind of a new way for the house call, so to speak. Doctors thinking about that, how all that can work within the gig economy. I think this is super freaking cool. Like you read this and you're like, why wouldn't I use this for the majority of the health issues that I have? Emma, what do you think?
No, I think it's super, super cool. Like the healthcare industry as a whole needs to be just innovated in a ton. And kudos to Amazon for like taking the first step to do that.
I think this is going to be, oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, like, yeah, even if you think about like appointment scheduling now, like for virtual care visits, like, oh my God, what time does it have to be? Then I need like 6 different emails to tell me the process by which that's going to happen. I mean, it's just right for the type of stuff that Amazon knows how to figure out.
And if you start to think about how this is going to expand, you look at the grocery presence that they're about to roll out in this country. Grocery is huge, but healthcare is next. And the combination of all of the things that you can get done in one place, when you have your grocery store, you have Walmart's been doing the clinics in store for the last year or two at least, and you start to think about what you're able to provide that community in one spot before you go into the store and once you're in the store. That omni-channel experience is going to start rolling out to all these different categories, and this is just one example of how that's going to happen, and quick.
Wait, so you think Amazon's going to go omni-channel with this too? Or are you saying just Walmart in total, the whole landscape is going to change in that direction?
No, I'm saying Amazon. I mean, they're testing it now. They're providing it. I mean, the other part of this that it's like a whole separate discussion is just offering this service to other employers, like this as their main go-to. Right. But you start to think about this Amazon ecosystem that the customer is already in. They've got Prime. They've got, they've got the stores now. And when you start to tie this into that whole world of, well, now I'm prepping my order. I've told Alexa that I need my order for Amazon. Alexa, schedule me an appointment while I'm in this store picking up my groceries, or, do I have a curbside doctor's appointment? Can somebody come out and give me a strep test while I'm picking up my groceries? Like, those are huge, huge advantages.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's a good point. Yeah. I wanted to ask that specifically because I think it's an important nuance to this whole thing, right? Like, we talked about, so I heard on Scott Galloway was on Bill Marshall the other night, and he said like the US healthcare industry is the biggest business in the world, if I remember correctly. It sounds like, Emma, you might've seen that too. Like that's it. Stop and think about that for a second. And that's the business that the Amazon and the Walmarts of the world are going after. Now let's talk about them comparatively against what you just said, Anna, which is why I asked the question. Walmart probably doesn't have the chops to figure out what we just talked about, like in terms of like the fluidity of how all this works online, relatively speaking. Maybe they're good, but relatively speaking. So Amazon does that all lightweight, asset light, gets everybody to figure that out. Meanwhile, Walmart's over here trying to build all these clinics at their stores, which actually could become obsoleted if you think about the fact that Amazon may be able to do a good portion of this online just by sending people wherever in the world they need to be, whether it's your house, your employer, the parking lot itself. That's a fascinating angle of this discussion I hadn't thought about till you just said all of that, which is like, okay, who do you bet on in this space? I think I'm probably betting on Amazon, relatively speaking. What do you guys think?
Totally.
You think you
100%.
bet on Amazon?
Well, I mean, on this, like
yes.
Yeah, right. I know, right. But like, I haven't thought about it to that degree. And actually, do you start to get a ton of assets at Walmart that maybe aren't productive over time, and you suddenly have this kind of albatross hanging around your neck with clinics no one's like really using to the same degree? I don't know. I think it's still worth experimenting with all, but it shows that you've got to figure out the digital side of this too, because the gig economy opens up a lot of things. And that's kind of an axiom in startup business now. Like, don't invest the assets until you know you need them.
I think maybe
Walmart's kind of going the other way.
Yeah, I think the Walmart thing is unique though. Their presence right now in so many smaller rural locations, to have a clinic in the store that already exists, to like lease out some of the space to a clinic or, their own clinics, I think could work. It just depends on the setting, but you're right. There's a lot to think about when it comes to the infrastructure required for those.
Or maybe you lean in on the physicality of what really needs to happen in those places versus like the strep tests and the things like that can be done anywhere at any time, right? Maybe that's the answer too, which is always the answer. Like, why are you going to the physical space to begin with?
Right. And where what is left for Amazon to grab? They've got every sports team coming in underneath them for all the rights for the shows, the programming, healthcare, grocery, essentials, everything.
Can I say Stirrups advertising? It doesn't feel like they've cornered the market on that.
Untapped
like maybe
market,
that. Can
Amazon.
I say that?
Get into the OB office Stirrup market. That's what's coming next.
The last word from Ann Mazinga. All right, that wraps us up today. Happy birthday today. Great set of birthdays today. Queen Latifah. Oh. Vanessa Williams, the Dane Cook. Remember Dane Cook? Remember that guy?
Oh,
what happened to him?
Is he still alive? I'm shocked.
He's not even, I don't think he's even 50. I think he's like 49. But anyway, remember him? God, talk about a rising star that I don't even know where he is now. And then, of course, if you're a Broadway fan, as I know many of you listening are, the great Sutton Foster, which I'm sure also none of you have any idea who I'm talking about.
Oh, she was the princess in Shrek.
I know who that is.
You guys know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited. Yes, that's so great. Okay, my family will be so happy too. All right, and remember, if you can only listen or read or listen, what the hell am I saying? Remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it Omni Talk. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news, and our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us and just for you, all within the preview pane of your inbox. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. And also be sure to check out, we've got a very cool webinar coming called You Can't Spell Autonomous Shopping Without AI, where I'm going to be interviewing executives from NVIDIA, Dell Technologies, and AWM Smart Shelf, all about how the future of autonomous shopping is going to take shape. You can sign up again, just go to the homepage of the blog. You'll see it right there, front and center. Check it out. It's going to be super cool. I know a lot of you are already excited and have told us so. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. And of course, be careful out there. The Omni Talk podcast is brought to you by the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients' people and communities towards their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And of course, Takeoff. Takeoff is transforming grocery by empowering grocers to thrive online. The key is micro-fulfillment, small robotic fulfillment centers that can be leveraged at a hyper-local scale. Takeoff also offers a robust software suite so grocers can seamlessly integrate the robotic solution into their existing businesses. To learn more, visit takeoff.com.